Okay, there is some construction going on around me, and you can hear the banging noise. Hopefully, it's not spoiling my recording too much. So, we are in the section on describing social change of chapter 10, where we are looking at the desired social change, and then we'll come up next with the author's prescriptions for social change. So we looked at ecological, material and social motivations that could be driving decisions and actions on sustainability, but here we come back to events, whether change can be continuous or can be abrupt and like an event, or if an event happens and it kicks the society into a new state, or it jumps up and comes back down, and so on. So hysteresis kind of ideas. Although events are central for grasping social change, we need to remember Heraclitus' alleged saying. Heraclitus is just alleged saying that you cannot go into the same river twice. Our world is dynamic, and any present instance constitutes just one small momentary phase within the vast stream of humanity's development, which, coming from the past, debouches into the present and thrusts ahead toward possible futures. I looked up the word debouche when I was reading the book. I have a file called Interesting Words where I just save words that I don't know, even though I know a lot of words, but I forgot right now what debouche is. That's a French word, so I have to be careful. I have to say debouche in English. No, that's not. So denouncing is removing. No, not debouche. Debouche. No. Debounce. No, I'm asking for debouche, man. What the hell? Maybe the word is borrowed from Swedish. I don't know why I got digressed. Deboucher in French, which will be related. Debaucher means job opportunity, outlet, opening outlet. It opens up into the present. So coming from the past, opening up into the bush, debouche. What the hell word did you use? English. I'm spending some time on it. Sorry. English word. Debouche. I'm obsessed with it now. So I don't know how I forgot. An opportunity for work. Again, it goes to French, but English word. You know, I hate typing on the iPhone because the virtual keyboard never works for me. I used to love BlackBerry. I don't know how many of you remember BlackBerry. I could type entire papers on a BlackBerry. Okay, so it doesn't give me any English word. So English translation is outlet. So anyway, let's leave it there. I think I concluded the same thing when I was reading it, but just because I am learning French, I just converted it to English in my head. Just think of it as an opening into the present and thrusts ahead toward possible futures. It's, in other words, only for practical reasons we conceptually freeze some moments in time and treat them as single events, when they in fact are pieces of unending processes. One family moving from the countryside into a society is not particularly significant, but the process of urbanization, where lots of families move to set up a new city, is very much, or new urban area is very much an event, right? So let me make, this is 10.2, a moment of endless flow. You can go to a place, this is obviously a metroplex where people are running around towards buses here, and they probably just came out of the train station and so on. I mentioned 10.1 before. Did I show 10.1? Now I'm confused. No. So what happened to 10.1? So I somehow skipped 10.1. So let me do that after I conclude this thought here. Here's where we are. Okay, so sorry about the back and forth. So events are central. We are talking about it. Okay, so it's, in other words, only for practical reasons we conceptually freeze some moments in time and treat them as single events when they in fact are pieces of unending processes. One family moving is not an event, but when a whole new city suddenly emerges, that is obviously an event. Social change can be linear, cyclical, or stepwise. It can be spontaneous or planned. Social change can be slow and evolutionary, or rapid and revolutionary. It can be partial or complete. That covers everything. Not all social change amounts to the immense transformation of the Neolithic Revolution, nor does it always require centuries or even millennia to take place. Especially not when it occurs as a reaction to changes that have already transformed neighboring societies, which include many in our globalized world. For example, the rapid social change of contemporary China would simply not be possible without the intense contact with other powerful societies over time, like the UK, Japan, USA, and now again India. However, perhaps the most extreme example of rapid social change in relation to intrusive neighbors is Japan, which in barely more than a generation after US warships sailed into Tokyo Bay, went from being a withdrawn feudal society, emperor has always remained there, to an early industrial society with capacity of winning wars against China and Russia. Now Japan feels quite insecure being next to the giant China and the unpredictable Russia, and they have historical baggages from World War II as well. So later Japan later went on to control most of the western side of the Pacific. This neighborhood factor must never be underestimated as both a driver and an obstacle for social change toward sustainability. A driver as soon as the new and sustainable society becomes more competitive in relation to its neighbors in the current world system, but an obstacle as long as it is deemed more beneficial to continue on the beaten track. So Japanese economy has been talked about as stagnating for, decades, but the biggest problem they are facing is depopulation. Population drop. There are many hundreds, maybe thousands of houses just sitting empty because people have moved away. People are not getting married, having children to come back and occupy the house, and so on and so forth. Okay, so social change is thus not only about individuals' attitudes, behaviors, choices, ABC, and contained in the dominant ABC paradigm of social change, attitudes, behaviors, and choices. Although the attitudes, behavior, and choices of individuals are central for social change, we must not forget or ignore the importance of the physical, environmental, social, cultural, political, and economical context these individuals exist in. So you may be having a slow change that you are used to, and a sudden small change may push you over the threshold, depending on you are on the up cycle or the down cycle of the regular change you are used to adjusting for. For instance, Reeve argues that individuals' motivation emanates from internal experiences such as needs, cognitions, and emotions in relation to external environmental events that supply incentives for them to engage or not to engage in particular activities. So you may be just moving towards saying, I have had enough of this situation, emotionally ready for a change, and something comes along as an external environmental event and just makes you jump and make that change that you've been thinking about. Think about all the time that the maintenance of the levees of New Orleans was overlooked, even after the close call of Hurricane Ivan in 2004, and then the massive investments in levee improvements after Hurricane Katrina came only following the devastation of 2005, which has still not gone back to the pre-Katrina state. Klintman argues convincingly for the importance of the social when explaining, understanding, and improving the unsustainable consumer behavior, while Shove points toward the extent to which governments sustain unsustainable economic institutions and ways of life, and the extent to which they have a hand in structuring options and possibilities. So, to summarize these 3 podcasts on describing social change, social change entails enduring changes of the structure and or function of a human environment system that have significant effects on its future. These changes may stem from changes in the elements, relations, boundary, functions, or surroundings of that system. It is the aggregated and accumulated result of various processes of different spatial and temporal scale, complexity, and direction that is labeled social change. The physical, environmental, social, cultural, political, and economical context set the frame for human agency, how human beings are willing and able to act into the change or passively go through it. This in turn influences these spheres through manifest human activity. However, what we have the potential to do is not the same as what we are doing, making motivation key for fundamental social change towards sustainability. In other words, we may be aware of the need for sustainability and moving towards sustainability and the ability to do it, but the motivation may not be there. So the potential to do is there, but motivation has to be provided somehow. So I'll come back and plug in figure 10.1 that I missed. It's just a prop, but it's important to do it anyways, just for completion. So let me go back there and close this podcast so that when we come back, we know what the context for figure 10.1 is. I think I'll continue that in this first podcast on describing social change. There is the feature of resuming the podcast in Panopto, and I'll do that. Okay? See you in the next podcast.